Yemen's Houthi movement appears to have taken a calculated pause in its maritime campaign, signalling a halt in attacks on Israel and Red Sea shipping, but only conditionally, contingent on the trajectory of the Gaza front. In an undated letter addressed to the armed wing of Hamas, the Al-Qassam brigades, the Houthis chief of staff, Major General Yusuf Hassan al-Madani, laid out the terms of this unusual ceasefire. We are closely monitoring developments and declare that if the enemy resumes its aggression against Gaza, we will return to our military operations deep inside the Zionist entity, and we will reinstate the ban on Israeli navigation in the Red and Arabian Seas. That single statement encapsulates both the relief of a maritime corridor that has been under constant threat and the latent menace still hanging over one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. The timing could not be more significant. After more than 2 years of intermittent missile, drone and small boat strikes by the Houthis from their base in northern Yemen, global trade through the Red Sea and the Suez Canal has been battered. The resulting disruption rippled through insurance markets, shipping schedules, and on the other side of the continent into Egypt's foreign currency receipts. With this letter, the Houthis are effectively saying, we will stand down. For now, their operations were explicitly tied to the Gaza war after October 2023, targeting vessels flagged to countries supporting Israel and launching missiles toward Israeli territory. According to maritime industry sources, the group's campaign sent freight via the Cape of Good Hope soaring, rerouting delays piling up and war risk surcharges ticking higher. One shipping risk assessment put the cost of war risk premiums on large container ships at around 1% of hull value during the most intense phase of attacks. On the political front, Israel is led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and has Israel Katz as its defense minister, both figures who have insisted repeatedly on deterrence against missile and drone launches from Yemen. In Washington, President Donald Trump's administration remains engaged in both military and diplomatic calculations over the Red Sea corridor, mindful of the broader Iran-backed network that includes the Houthis, Hezbollah and other allied militias. For Egypt, the stakes are immediate and monetary. The Suez Canal is a lifeline, and according to the International Monetary Fund, the attacks by the Houthis and the associated shipping disruption contributed to an estimated $6 billion reduction in Egypt's foreign exchange inflows in 2024, with the freight slowing and many shippers diverting around Africa. Every week of restored passage through the canal is a win for Cairo's balance of payments. Yet the Houthis' message carried clear caveats. They did not formally declare that their campaign was permanently over. Instead, they laid out a clear conditionality. If the Gaza ceasefire collapses, if Israel launches a major military operation, or if the broader enemy resumes aggression, then the Houthi front opens again. If the enemy resumes its aggression against Gaza, they wrote, we will return to our military operations deep inside the Zionist entity, and we will reinstate the ban on Israeli navigation in the Red and Arabian Seas. While the letter offers a breathing space for maritime commerce, analysts caution it is a pause, not a peace. The group's infrastructure, launch sites, missile and UAV stockpiles, coastal boat launch facilities remains intact. One maritime risk advisory flagged that although incident-free periods improve insurer sentiment, the underlying threat remains present. A lull of days or weeks may ease premiums, but shipping lines and underwriters will watch for months of calm before declaring the Red Sea risk cycle resolved. Hamas, too, will interpret the letter as a tool. The group, under the leadership of Yahya Sinwar after the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh in 2024, has long relied on external deterrence and regional patrons to strengthen its negotiating position. The Houthis' conditional promise essentially ties the Red Sea front to Gaza's front line, ensuring that if Israel steps back into major combat, allied fronts will step up in tandem. From Israel's vantage point, the message offers both relief and warning. A reduction in missile and shipping attacks opens space to recalibrate. But the qualified nature of the halt underscores that the maritime threat has not been erased, only suspended. If conflict flares again in Gaza, the same days of Houthi maritime disruption could return, with consequences not only for Israel, but for global trade. Global supply chains are inseparable from the outcome. Asia-Europe container flows depend heavily on the Suez route for speed and cost efficiency. Rerouting around the Cape of Good Hope adds 10 to 14 extra days and significantly higher fuel and charter costs. A credible pause in Red Sea attacks could lower freight rates, reduce surcharges, and relieve supply chain bottlenecks. Simultaneously, energy arbitrage and tanker repositioning, especially for European refiners reliant on Middle East supplies, stand to benefit from more predictable maritime transit. Still, as much as the business world may welcome calmer seas, the risks are glaring. The letter from the Houthis enumerates the tripwires, renewed Israeli operations in Gaza, attacks attributed to Israel on Houthi-linked targets, or major strikes in Yemen or the Gulf by the US-Israel axis. Each of those could flip the maritime switch back into high-risk mode. In recent years, the timeline of Houthi escalation has been tightly correlated with Gaza flare-ups. And though the United States concluded a ceasefire with the Houthis in May 2025, brokered by Oman, that deal explicitly excluded Israel. For the shipping industry, the next metric won't be declarations, it will be silence. How many commercial transits pass through the el-Mandeb without incident? How long can insurers maintain lower war risk premiums? For Egypt, it will be how monthly Suez Canal revenues track upward. And for global trade, it will be whether inventory buffers and logistics chains ease their resilience surcharge. The bottom line is that the Houthis have opened a window, but it remains a controlled and conditional one. For now, major shipping lanes may experience a reprieve, and for Egypt, some relief. But lurking behind that calm is the same trigger. If the enemy resumes its aggression against Gaza, we will return to our military operations deep inside the Zionist entity, and we will reinstate the ban on Israeli navigation in the Red and Arabian Seas. The global commerce system may welcome the moment, but it also must prepare for the restart. The Houthis' warning captures the fragile geometry of today's Middle East, where one battlefield sets off ripples across oceans. A ceasefire in Gaza can ease shipping lanes thousands of kilometers away, while a single airstrike can reignite threats to global commerce. The Red Sea has become a barometer of regional stability, and this latest pause, though significant, is less a truce than a test, a reminder that calm here depends on restraint elsewhere. For now, the world watches a narrow maritime corridor carrying the weight of fragile diplomacy. Every ship that sails safely through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait signals a day of relative peace, but also the uncertainty of tomorrow. The Houthis' final words echo like a standing order. If war resumes, so will their response. Whether this moment becomes the start of de-escalation or merely the calm before another storm will depend not on statements, but on restraint from Gaza to Sana'a and beyond. As regional powers weigh their next moves, the balance between deterrence and diplomacy hangs by a thread. The Red Sea has become more than a trade route. It is now a litmus test of political will and military restraint across the Middle East. Any renewed clash, whether sparked by a single strike in Gaza or a provocation at sea, could unravel the fragile calm that has momentarily steadied global commerce and regional security alike.